Apa tu? Ni, tengah nak live. Lagi semain. Hello everyone, very good morning to you and very good day to you. Thank you for tuning in Podium 1. Today at 11:45 we will be joining by Mr. Alex Chong. He is the consulting system engineer for FireEye. Mr. Alex has been in the IT industry for over 20 plus years with experience as a security consultant with the Big Four and security engineer with a regional network and security system integrator company. So he has a very vast experience as a system engineer, and he has held various positions in a networking company that include regional consulting role in advanced technology division, specializing in wired and wireless endpoint security. He also specialized in data center infrastructure, automation, and cloud solution in APAC. I will now leave the floor to Mr. Alex, and he will do his presentation, and the Q&A session will be available after the session has ended. Thank you.
And I'm Dan SE from FireEye Malaysia. In this Cyber Podium session, we will discuss on how COVID-19 pandemic has offered new opportunities for hackers and also bad actors worldwide. Then slowly, I'll be moving to how FireEye solution helps to address these security challenges. 2020 and 2021 will be remembered as a uniquely disruptive year, but not just for a global health crisis, but also the digital online life. It will also be remembered as the year that security events exploded and cyber incidents transformed society in numerous ways. During this pandemic era, the bad guys have upped their game, and we have to do the same and not letting our guards down. Changing cybercrime tactics and a shift to employees working from home elevates the importance of security and its strategies. Well, the overall message here is, while working from home may change a lot of employees' behavior, but a relaxed security standard shouldn't be one of them. In other words, what's happening now is a cyber pandemic, not only a biological pandemic. Defining a cyber pandemic is a bit like defining a perfect storm. Only this storm is in cyberspace. There are many moving parts, which includes all of the lists of the threats and cyber attacks listed in the items here. From ransomware to data breaches, and from election security in the US to unemployed fraud, COVID-19 has in many ways unleashed a new set of challenges and accelerated existing challenges within the global enterprises. The sudden shift to working from home has raised various security concerns that experts need to check on. Some best practice while working from home, employees should be aware of any requests for information and verify the source, including unexpected emails or calls from co-workers. They also need to make sure the laptops that they use, the cell phones and the apps are updated and installed with any required patches. Consider dual-factor authentication as well. The rapid widespread adoption of work-from-home tools has put considerable amount of strain on security teams, which must safeguard these tools without making it hard or impossible for employees to work. Bad actors online have adjusted their methods to take advantage of the pandemic. Look at the trends of phishing. Hackers are opportunistic, and they have pivoted from sending phishing messages asking for Bitcoin to something like COVID-19 related and something that is more personal and pulling on the heartstring. Pandemic-related email phishing scam can be disguised as information from the World Health Organization or the Center for Disease Control, or pretend to have information about stimulus aids from the government. Impersonation attacks are getting rampant as well, making use of the pandemic situation to obtain personal identifiable information from unsuspecting victims. Cybercrime is growing, highly successful and profitable industry. A big part of this ransomware, multi-pronged attacks capturing an organization's data and systems. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, ransomware attacks have increased by nearly 500%. Think about it. The average ransom payments has also continued to climb, up 43% from the last quarter of 2020 to an average of over 200,000 US. What is especially insidious about this attack is that a ransom demand is often accompanied by a breach and extractions of company data and a concurrent extortion threatening to release the data unless additional payments are made. Criminals have also evolved to become increasingly systematic. The recent attack on Colonial Pipeline by the hackers collectively known as DarkSide exemplify this. Like their state-sponsored counterpart, criminal collectives have created virtual organizations and enacted focused strategy targeting specific sectors and companies. They have infinite resources, skills, and patience. They are playing a long game where targets are identified, carefully reconnoitered, and only acted upon when the maximum value can be extracted. Not to mention that DarkSide is also selling ransomware packs to other hackers, ransomware as a service, and is becoming a growing profit center as well. So what do FireEye have to offer in terms of solving the critical pandemic challenges today? Well, simply put, FireEye is a company that is built differently. We have both Mandiant and also the FireEye brand in the same company. Mandiant is much more focuses on vendor agnostic security solution and consulting brand, whereby FireEye is the security technology brand where we offer different technology platforms for the customers. As we look at these issues, all right, the one thing we always tell customers is that traditional reactive approach to security doesn't work well. You don't need security only when bad things are happening. You need to be able to prevent as many security incidents as possible and respond and remediate them if they happen. This is what makes us unique as a company. We help you build a security program that helps you before, during, and after security incidents. What do we mean by that? So when we talk about before, what you need here is to build a program that will spare you from as many incidents as possible in the first place. This is where we help organizations design a better program, assess and measure its effectiveness, pressure test against real-life attacks and techniques, train people so that they are prepared to deal with the toughest issue, and avoid careless mistakes like misconfiguration. That alone will make your team life noticeably easier. So what happens during? Incidents are everyday reality for security practitioners. Most of them are small, but some can be big, right? When you have one at hand, you need to block the basic threats, detect and alert on the more advanced ones, prioritize alerts for your team, and give them the right toolkit to respond. We also give you the access to our frontline experts if your team is up against a high severity threat on demand or through a subscription service. That way you have the tools and expertise needed at any given time. Then finally, we often remind customers that breaches are inevitable. Lately, we've seen thousands of organizations impacted by supply chain threats and zero-day vulnerabilities in quintessential IT tools. While you can't avoid all of them, you can be prepared. And preparation means being able to quickly perform compromise assessment, have incident response experts by your side in hours rather than in days. And also hardening and improving your posture and team skill after an incident. Let's look at the ransomware attack threats in more detail. When you're up against these threats, you want to know if you are at risk or not, if you have all it takes to defend yourself, or what you can do better in terms to protect from an attack. Again, we use the same framework. First, we help you to identify your posture through Mandiant ransomware assessment. This will give you a better sense of your current state of affair. With threat intelligence, you can get a better sense of the attacker and threats they are likely to target, specifically your organization. And with security validation, you can continuously measure your program effectiveness against real-world threats that Mandiant sees. Let's assume now that you are observing a ransomware attack targeting you. In this case, you can use email security, our solution for the preferred delivery method of ransomware attacks, email, that will help you block and contains ongoing threats. You can also use endpoint security to catch ransomware on endpoints and assist with investigation and forensic. Lastly, you can use managed defense or MDR service in case you don't have enough people or manpower or they are not skilled enough to defend against such an attack. Well, with all that said, ransomware attacks happens to any organization, be it big or small. Sometimes we start working with companies only after a compromise has been established. In that case, we typically start with our incident response practice, which helps quickly contain the damage, work with internal stakeholders and board, craft external messaging and media strategy, negotiate with the threat actors if needed, and of course, resolve an incident whenever possible. Later on, Mandiant can help transform or harden the program and put technologies in place to ensure a more robust security posture. It's important to note that ransomware attack may take many forms and its consequently do vary. These are just some examples of how we can help you navigate this challenge. We want to bring technology skills and productize our expertise and intelligence through multi-vendor automated technology solutions that we are going to deliver through the Mandiant Advantage SaaS platform. So let's talk a little bit about the platform as a whole, and then we can speak to each module. Think of Advantage as the SaaS platform that is all things Mandiant. It's automation powered by unique Mandiant intelligence and expertise. Really, Mandiant expertise is a virtual extension of the customer's team. It's a technology interface to augment, automate, and enhance your team on site with what we know, when we know it, and our experts. Ultimately, we see this as multi-vendor extended detection and response. It's not that we are saying that you don't need controls. It's we believe that this control can be more effective if they are backed by and powered by our expertise and intelligence. Mandiant Advantage is an integrated platform, and that's the three core module today. Threat intelligence, which you can think of an external view based upon your profile, what the attackers and tactics and procedures that they are targeting you. Security validation is where we pivot an internal view and actually understand what's the relevance of this intel to your environment, what you need to block, what you need to detect, and what will you miss, right? Automated defense allow us to move from understanding the threats and measuring of your effectiveness on the threats to better operating security, to actually leveraging that intel and the knowledge when we are doing alert triage and others activities in the security operation center. For each of these three modules, there is flexible delivery that can be purchased, leveraged by customers that are well resourced just as technology. They can be expert backed and purchased bundled with consulting services, or they can be fully managed, similar to how our managed defense works today. These are options for managed threats intel or managed validation, managed automated defense, and that is where a Mandiant expert is going to run this technology to augment your team. But there's also a large element of data science and a large elements of expert analysis that comes from our advisory team, and we are able to do some interesting stuff to further increase your effectiveness and increase your efficacy. This data fits directly into the detection models and the machine learning models that are powering automated defense. This data is automatically scored, and we have the whole new model called M-score, where we are able to take the process that one of our expert analysts will go through to determine if an indicator like an IP address or a fully qualified domain name or something along those lines was malicious, which would take quite a long time to do. M-score allowed us to score this indicator in milliseconds and provide you the live data. And you will be able to know which one are important for your prioritization and which one are not. Data science and our experts are able to build relationship with all the data. How do these various items links together? What's the impact to you? What is a broader attribution? Who is actually behind this? All this can be answered with our Intel Grid. All of these things, from broad data to advanced attribution, are available and are continuously being updated in this Mandiant Intel Grid. It's powering the modules, the contents, and the platform. So you are focused on what is important right now. So to wrap this up from Mandiant Advantage platform perspective, it's the XDR for multi-vendor security controls. It's focused on automation powered by Mandiant unique expertise and intelligence, allowing you to have with each of these modules the benefits of having Mandiant expertise being an extension to your team through this platform with flexible delivery, 100% technology, fully managed, expert back, bundled with our consulting. Right, let's move into the first module. The first module that we are discussing here is Mandiant Threat Intelligence. Okay. Mandiant Threat Intelligence is the frontline view of the external threat landscape. What is important based upon what we are seeing attackers targeting you and your peers right now? Who are those actors? What are their tactics, techniques, and procedures? What are their indicator of compromise? And what do I need to do about it? Going back to the timeline view of the FIN11 process, that is really shifting you, give you direct visibility into those emerging threats. I'm categorized group to understand exactly what is most important to prioritize and focus your resources in your environment. When you think about threat intel, think about know, prioritize, and act. Know what we know when we know it. This is the early knowledge advantage that Mandiant provides. Prioritize what you are focused on with relevance and real-time intelligence. Act quickly and operationalize with this intel within the Mandiant Advantage platform through validation and automated defense, as well as our integration to SIEM, SOAR, and multi-vendor support. A prioritized act is really quick way to think about that external landscape and what that Mandiant Threat Intelligence module is providing. So we will pivot over to take a look at the screenshot that we have showing in the top left. If you look at the most active actors in the last quarter, other than the APT 34 and FIN. These are primarily uncategorized group, the UNC uncategorized group. These are groups that Mandiant has a unique view of. We can see them trending. We can also give you insights into our machine intelligence and operational intelligence, as well as FinTel. So there's a great rich demo around threats intelligence when we do a deep dive on it, but this is just a quick screenshot to see how that functionality looks. So the second part here is Mandiant security validation. So uh, we are pivoting from that external view and now saying, what does that mean to me internally? How is this relevant to me? So regarding the second part here, you can think of this continuum. If we start from frontline intel, if we start with intelligence that we know that is targeting you and your peers right now based on upon the frontline view that we have already cut out a lot of access. We have already whistled down a smaller set of data. We know the attackers are using it actively. Then we validate that using security validation in your environment. All right. And for example, it's going to take 20 things we know attackers are using to target you and your peers. And you're going to be able to ask the question then, of these 20 things, which 15 am I blocking? Which 3 am I detecting? And which 2 am I missing? It's really that these 2 that you are missing is where your priority should be, where you need to prioritize your resources and your focus. It's really the ultimate instantiation of making threat intelligent resources uh, um, because it's actionable, but it's also personal. It's personal to that environment, your environment, and it's customized to that environment. And as I mentioned earlier, the biggest reason behind large number of attacks that are missed, unblocked, and undetected is because of misconfiguration. This is where we are able to see misconfiguration and find them in the security controls in your environment before the attack takes place. You can think of this as getting an incident response ahead of time, seeing what's going to fail, seeing where all the misconfigurations are, and where are those under configurations, and where are the environmental drift that impacted your ability to be effective, right? So the 3 things to think about security validation are measure, manage, and communicate. We want to help you to measure the effectiveness against relevant threat actors, the relevant frameworks. And when we say frameworks, everyone is measuring against the NIST and MITRE ATT&CK framework. And then we move to manage. This goes back to environmental drift. Security has challenged when the network team, the IT team, people move things around in the cloud. Things are shifting, and that creates an environmental drift and misconfiguration. By validating continuously in your environment against these baselines of known goods, we can demonstrate improvements over time. But we can also manage against this challenge. This gives us quantifiable metrics that we can communicate the effectiveness of how your security program is. And then conversations around optimizing, rationalizing, ensuring that we are demonstrating effectiveness of the security program. So Mandiant Security Validation is a module in Mandiant Advantage platform and is integrated into the other aspect there. This is a screenshot where we have pivoted on some activities associated with a couple of foreign actor groups and get an overview to understand based upon this control in the environment. In this case, the FireEye network security component, the NX, Palo Alto, and Snort, what are the blocks and what are the detections are being shown here. And of course, if the user were to scroll down on this page, they will be able to see the details specifically on what attacks were successful, what were blocked, and what was detected, and what was missed. So now we jump over to automated defense, the third component here. And we are shifting now from the external view and the relevance of that to now better operating security. This is where you can think of automated defense as Mandiant expert in the box. It's augmenting the front line of the security operations center and injecting a Mandiant virtual analyst into your team. The result is we are able to combine the intelligence, validation, and machine learning that lets us do 100% of alerts to triage those at machine speeds in the context of everything we know about current, past, and active breaches, as well as then to make decisions consistently based upon what a Mandiant expert would do. This is a huge challenge in the security operations center today. That no matter how much automation, contextualization and enrichment that we put there, often it's up to the human to make a decision, and that analytical process that they go through is often rushed. It depends upon experience. It depends upon the kind of day that they are having to go through, for them to be consistent. And so what is amazing here is that we're able to do this not just on the entire volume of alerts and events, but in a consistent and a complete way, as if we were to make a decision with the best possible outcome each time based upon our expertise and intelligence. So it's really a combination of our expert systems and machine learning models that we have not seen in the industry before. The things to think about here are investigate, simplify, and unify. So from an investigation and triage point of view, we are going to be able to look at all of these alerts and events while leaving the data where it is. This helps to simplify things because delivered from a Saas interface, it's very simple to deploy, and we are not having to write rules or playbooks because the machine learning models combined with our intelligence are dynamic enough with this expert system so that we are adjusting to both the external threats as well as your environment, which is the key as we are making this decision to defend or not to defend, to decide on what's false positive and what is not. And this really brings a unification, because if you consider how humans think, we have to make decisions in silo. Now we look at the larger sets of alerts and make these consistent decisions in a much broader context and a unified way, as opposed to simply addressing one alert from a single vendor. So we can actually look across vendor, cross customers, and cross time frames. And all these things automatically to have unified view of what is the best decision that we can make every time and then execute on that. Here's a screenshot of the Mandiant automated defense. Notice at the bottom of the screen, we have correlated over 800 plus different events across multiple systems and user accounts into a single investigation. This is not the simple stuff of the old school of aggregating all the same alerts from the same time into one thing. This is real cross-model, cross-vendors case that we have actively built out by identifying various ways these things are tied together and then presenting that consolidate the unified case back to you in a fully automated way for an analyst to identify and go through, cutting down on hours and hours of analyst time and enabling humans to focus on what we are good at, which is deep dive on the small set of things instead of trying to make generic decisions on large sets of things. Okay, next we come to the technology platform that FireEye has to offer. We look at the email security platform, which provides protection for the #1 threat vectors in this pandemic era. So essentially, FireEye email security combines adversary intelligence, right, and victim intelligence. We're able to gain insights about what others attackers to better defend ourselves. So additionally, we are able to combine and integrate technologies through our products portfolios, whether it's on the endpoint, networks, or email. So it will be able to form the complete ecosystem that fits our intelligence, right? And correlation as we respond to the threats we stop to learn more about the threats as we fight. So this is the screenshots of the email threat protection platform showing the advanced threats alerts that we are able to detect across in the email that we receive. Next, the endpoint defense and response solution that FireEye has. So the endpoint security solutions contains targeted engines to respond to threats, find the threats that breach protection, and clean up across the entire organization. We do this via modular components in the endpoint solution, which categorize into protection, using signature and signatureless machine learning capabilities, from malware protection, malware guard, exploit guard, and even process guard. And next would be the detection category, with our indicator of compromise information from our threat intel. We are able to have better IOCs to detect all the different threats that's coming up in 0-day as well. And also the response component with various components designed to provide investigative and forensic capabilities in the solution. So here's the screenshots of the endpoint security console showing the main dashboard, and you'll also be able to drill down onto the alerts detection on specific hosts. Last but not least will be the network security components, where we provide network visibilities and protection against advanced threats utilizing machine learning and correlation engines. With the network security solution, we have a component called Multi-Vector Virtual Execution Engine, or MVX for short, which is a hardened hypervisor designed to emulate multiple operating systems, applications, so that we can provide over 2,000 simultaneous execution environment for threat analysis. So MVX in the network security component is not just a sandbox, it's more than that. So the network security solutions provides IPS functionality, detect lateral spreads movement in the network via smart vision, SSL decryptions, callback detection, and also third-party integration via API. So another quick snapshots of the dashboard from the network security console, showing a quick overview of the alerts and also specific alerts detected in the network. All right, securing remote working environment and sustaining the confidentiality, integrity, and authentication for the customer-facing network are essential to ensure the continuity of operation during this disruptive time. The solution mentioned here have helped many organizations to overcome the security difficulties they face and maintain their standings with customers and other stakeholders. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope everyone gains valuable information from this session. Stay safe and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alex Chong, for the insightful presentation earlier. Mr. Alex, we have a few questions in the chat box. I will put in the chat, our private chat for you to look at.
Sure.
Can I see?
All right. The first one is, how can organization better protect ourselves from phishing that leads to ransomware campaign? So, okay. So basically, I guess this comes to two portions in terms of how an organization can better protect yourself from phishing. So, of course, one is more to the human factor to it. So it's more to the awareness training of all the user within the organization to basically have this awareness to know that you can't simply click on any links that you receive on the email or provide any personal identifiable information via email links and things like that. So that's more on the human or personal side. So another component would be, maybe can address using the technology portion, like the FireEye, email threat protection solution that is able to help in terms of the organization to identify any potential phishing email that is going to be sent into the organization, and where the solution is trying to block them, right? So that's two components to it. Yeah. Okay, the second question would be, how does managed defense does hunting? So, okay, managed defense, right, which is the service that offers by Mandiant. So managed defense and response, basically that will be, we have personnel, expertise from Mandiant will be able to perform that threat hunting exercise. So basically all this information that our expertise will be collecting via through our threat intelligence services that we have, all our resources that we have internally, that would basically helps in terms of plotting or the threat landscape against what's being monitored in the customer end. So that would be the part of the services that it will be enable the Mandiant defense and response team to be able to do the threat hunting. So the third question here, how can we get a quick testing of Mandiant security validation for better understanding? Yeah, I guess for this, you can, come and visit our booth and you talk to our personnel so that you can get a better understanding of what Mandiant security validation is. Then maybe we can actually arrange a sessions with you to further discuss of how a test or a further a presentation or demo can be done. Okay. So, any more questions, ma'am?
Let me check once more.
Sure.
Uh, no. Only 3 questions for FireEye.
All right. So in any events, if there's more questions, from the audience, you can feel free to visit the FireEye booth. Get to contact our representative there. If you any solution that you want to know furthermore. Yeah.
There you go. To the audiences that are listening, Mr. Alex has invited you guys to visit FireEye booth at level 1, at floor 1, and especially to have a quick testing of Mandiant security validation. This is a very good opportunity for you guys to engage with FireEye. I think that Mr. Alex, we can wrap this session for today. Thank you, Mr. Alex, for joining us.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
I wish you well, and see you soon.
Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.